good. Last year's games, studied all last year's games and obviously this year's games. Same staff, same coordinators, a lot of similarities. So the game is going to look pretty much the same for the most part. If you take those 2 games, the way it's played, they really haven't changed anything they do, and we haven't really changed anything we do for the most part.
You'll have another opportunity to see them with Iowa State,
Right.
but how much does it help that you've seen them in a stressed situation with that game at BYU? I mean, that was tough.
Well, it was, and you know what's interesting is their concepts and schemes are the same. I'm fairly certain from an outside looking in, he knows what he believes in all 3 phases, and that's what they're doing. Similarities across the board.
After getting to review the Pine Bluff film, anything jump out at you that you maybe didn't see live?
Well, our guys played good. They were focused. We were able to minimize some missed assignments. Our tackling was okay, not great. Still need to tackle better. It's one of the concerns I had. I mentioned before the first game because we didn't scrimmage much, really not at all. So I was concerned about that. We have to work really hard in tackling the next 2 weeks. But overall, pretty much what I saw.
Special teams, again, you look back on that. I wanted to ask you, what made the decision on the onside kick? Was it just simply they were penalized and it put you in a plus situation?
That's been our concept for years. We just haven't been in that situation. And so unless there's a reason not to, chances are they're not going to get it on the 25 unless somebody catches it on a hop, and they might get it on the 30. If you just kick it, it's going to be on the 25. It's just kind of a risk reward.
Coach, what's the status on Brendan Evers?
He should be fine. I think he's out here today. They might hold him some this week, but he's doing pretty well.
Mike, I want clarification. The other day you said that was a squib kick, right? Is that a squib or an onside kick? Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, so it was just a squib kick that just so happened to look like an onside kick because it hit the guy?
Well, squib kick's going to be low to the ground.
Right.
And it just so happened that he took off to run and he got in the line of the path of the ball.
Okay.
So we weren't trying to intentionally hit the play.
It was an accident.
Yeah, it worked out great.
Yeah.
Coach, looking back at Spencer from his freshman year to now, how have you seen, obviously he's matured over time, but how have you seen how's the play calling change from like his freshman year to now? Have you taken the leash off him a little bit?
Yeah, he can do whatever he wants in our offense. We don't back him off at any. His first 2 years here, we were minimal with some of the plays we called. I mean, we wanted to put him in situations we felt he was comfortable. And he's had a lot of reps, and so he's comfortable with pretty much everything in our offense.
For Braden Johnson, averaging 100 yards a game, I mean, he's always been fast, but is there anything new that he's added in the toolbox to be different this year?
Well, he's mature. He's very appreciative of where he's at. He lost a year, and sometimes when we lose things that we have that we all take for granted, you learn to appreciate it. And I think he feels that way. He's working really, really hard. And his mind, those veteran guys, Tyler Lacey and him and Spencer and Woody and Preston and those mature guys, Cassidy, they're working really hard, and so that really helps them on Saturdays.
How beneficial is it? I know you think you'll get Jaden Bray back at some point, maybe fairly soon. We'll see. But with all the receivers clicking the way they are, how much of an advantage is that for your offense to have that many guys that can make big plays?
Yeah, I mean, an experienced quarterback and depth at receiver, linemen that can cover guys up, and having a little bit of depth at running back is what fuels this offense. And so last year we played without any depth at wide receiver, and now we have a little depth at wide receiver so we can attack somewhat different offensively and not worry so much about the fatigue setting in at the guys that play on the perimeter.
Were you pretty sure Stephon Johnson Jr. would do what he did? I mean, he was impressive.
I don't know. When they've got to get out there and play. You know how that is, and so we talked about this. When we have players that, no matter what position they are, if they've shown in practice that they're potentially capable of being productive in a game, we got to put them on the field. That's the only way we can find out, is to put them out there in the game, let them make mistakes, let them correct them, get back in and play more. And so we like what we saw with him. He seemed to handle the situation fairly well.
As a whole, how do you feel like the first 3 games of the season have prepared you for conference?
You never have enough practice. Coaches, always feel like they wish they had more practice. We're still young and immature at spots, and where we're experienced at other spots, they're playing really well. So now we have to, every practice matters for us, and young guys need experience and reps, and try to minimize big plays, be good on special teams, and don't turn the ball over.
And are you satisfied with how much growth you've seen in those first 3 games?
Yes, from where, if we're evaluating the level of players we have due to maturity and how they're growing and maturing, yes, I am.
Both Jake Springfield and Jason Brooks have kind of shared the right tackle spot. Do you think one of them's going to cement themselves as a starter, or just you're going to keep playing them both?
We'd like to play multiple guys. It falls in the same category of the wideouts. If we have guys that are showing they're good enough to play in game day, we need to play them and find out and see what those guys can do. Hang on a second. Hey, Justin, tell them they can see their coaches. I'm not going to talk to them today. They can see their coaches, yes. Thank you.
Dominic Richardson number of carries have been kind of up and down through 3 games. Is his workload kind of just determined by the pace of the game, or?
He's going to be a 20 carry a game guy, somewhere in that area. Obviously, that didn't happen in this game based on the way the game went early. 20-ish, somewhere around that area, that's where he'll be.
You're talking about the added depth at receiver this year. Has that made it a lot more comfortable for you guys to do things like run 4 wide, run up to the
Gives us flexibility with personnel groupings, what you're talking about, and gives us way more flexibility in playing fast. So we're fortunate now with a very experienced quarterback and depth out there. The guys run a lot. And last year, we missed that. So we were just limited in some things we can do. Right now, we're fortunate enough that we don't have limitations there.
Bedlam got pronounced dead again.
What's
today.
that?
Bedlam got pronounced dead again today.
It's been dead a while.
Yeah, I'd assume by the way you've talked about it that didn't really
Which mortician did this one?
Well, the first thing, you know what? I wrote some notes up on that. The first thing is we got to, quit talking about it. I mean, it's over, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you guys a chance to challenge me. So I'm going to state facts. And if at any time I say something that is not a fact, you guys can stop me. I think that's fair, right? Isn't that what we want? Right. Okay. OU's officials were in negotiations with the SEC for months and months before anybody in this league or the conference knew about it. No objections? Okay. During those multi-billion-dollar conversations, I wonder if Bedlam was ever brought up at that point instead of the money. Okay? Bedlam is history. We all know that. We've known that because OU chose to follow Texas and the money to the SEC. It's okay. Is that a fact? Okay. So now we're having what I think are childish discussions, in my opinion, okay, over something that's done. And I would like to make this the last statement I have because I have no hard feelings, but what's going on now is almost a situation with a husband and a wife or a girlfriend and a boyfriend. When you know you're dead wrong and you try to turn the table and make them think they're wrong. When Oklahoma State has no part in this. We didn't have anything to do with their negotiations with the SEC. We didn't have any choice on choosing to leave the conference. They did. So everybody needs to get over it and move on and quit trying to turn the tables. It's somewhat comical that they still want to bring us into this equation. I want somebody here to give me one example of what Oklahoma State had to do with this. I'm listening, really, and this is I'm not the head coach, I'm just a guy on the street. I just want somebody to tell me what one thing that myself, Chad Weiberg, or Dr. Schrum, or our regents had to do with any of this going on. So let's not turn the tables. Let's just say, hey, look, we chose to follow Texas and take the money. and we're going to the SEC. It's all good. But let's quit talking about it and let's talk about football. That's the way I feel about it. No hard feelings. And I like Joe C., but it is what it is, right? We got to quit beating around the bush and call it the way it is.
You even like Chris Del Conte.
Yeah, I mean, but we don't hear anything about him.
So, Mike, this is
Chris is trying to figure out a way to spend all the money that he has in his budget. So he's busy.
He is.
This isn't your sport, but would you want to see Cowboy sports that are non-football play OU?
Those things are over my head. So one thing I do not have to worry about is what the other sports do. And it's all irrelevant for a lot of reasons, I think we all know, but people have kind of been beating around the bush instead of just calling it like it is. And I hope this will end it from Oklahoma State's standpoint. If Dr. Schrum and Chad Weiberg and the other head coaches and then Joe Castiglione and whoever makes the decisions down there decide to play the other sports, I think that's awesome. But that's not something that I play a part in. What else? Anything else?
But if TV came knocking and said, we'll pay you X amount of dollars to get Bedlam going again?
I said this in Dallas, and I said it about a month ago.
Yes.
If certain television networks come in and say, we are willing to do this for that, then administrators are going to make that decision based on money. And that's not a decision I'm involved in. If Chad Weiberg or Dr. Schrum comes to me and says, look, this has been worked out based on an exorbitant amount of money, I'm going to say, okay, I get it. I'll do whatever I'm told. But highly unlikely based on the circumstances of the way it's sitting at this particular time. Good?
Anything else?
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mike.